Maple Crest, Chapter 4. The meeting had a number of people that Edward had never met, but that did not bother him. He knew that this unit was always on the lookout for the best and the brightest, young or old, male or female, so new faces would never be a factor. General Shannon introduced Edward to all the new members, and everyone was in some form of a military uniform, except for Edward Martin. General Shannon had everyone take a seat at a large, rectangular conference table. They all had their briefing sheets and portfolios with legal pads, and an assortment of Taekwondo number 2 pencils, sharpeners, and various ink pens were all placed in tumbler-style holders within easy reach of everyone. I know you've all been busy these last few weeks, as our monitoring activity has been picking up considerably, which is the reason that Mr. Edward Martin is here with us today, he added. We have been monitoring all of the airspace and communications activity, and are still trying to pull all of this information into one cohesive strategy so we can act accordingly. Anything said in this room is top secret and must not leave this room or be discussed outside this room, even amongst yourselves, except with Mr. Martin or myself. Is that clear to everyone? They all nodded in agreement. Mr. Martin. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, our communications folks, I'm monitoring some strange activity that appears to be originating to our north, from just outside Alaska to our facility in Greenland. We are beginning to believe that it is part of the level of civil unrest we are seeing in our cities all across the country. Some diversion? It is also possible that it is also part of the huge migration from our southern border that is not just cartel-related, he continued. Many of the individuals that we have captured and run extensive testing on are showing some physical and internal abnormalities that are totally foreign to our medical personnel. This includes changes in skin cell composition, unknown blood types, varying degrees of optic abilities that are beyond our own capabilities, that include X-ray vision and super long-distance sight. We are also noticing that many have enhanced hearing that not only includes out of our normal audio band, but also the ability to decode digital information in the megahertz and gigahertz regions. This would allow them to communicate and receive data, decode it, and then reply telepathically, with no audible artifacts known to anyone around them. We now have been able to discover over 10,000 of these individuals and follow their travels and discover who they associate with and who might be the ones in charge of their movements and efforts. This has become most disconcerting to us, as we believe that they may in fact be extraterrestrials of some sort, but we have not been able to find out their point of origin, or if some of them have just gone through some transformation process from an external entity. We feel that this increase in communication activity might be the root cause. We are also concerned that we are seeing an increase in radar-collected air traffic. But when we scramble our fighter jets, our pilots see images on their screen, but cannot gain any visual contact, even when it seems that they are flying within close proximity of our own aircraft. This lack of visual contact means that they have some advanced invisibility technology totally foreign to us. Mr. Martin continued, we have asked all of you to help us sort all of this out, as we may be in the beginning stages of a full-blown invasion of some sort by parties unknown. Our closest NATO allies claim not to be involved or know anything about this, which leaves little to go on, he concluded. General Shannon rose from his chair. Folks, we have about a week plus before we might recommend going to DEFCON 4 and place the country on high alert. But as soon as we do that, fear and chaos may ensue across the country, and that level of panic would mean we have lost control of the population at large, which we cannot have. Each of you has your mission assignments in front of you, and we just ask that you work as hard and as fast as you can to gain additional information about what we are up against. Since we cannot see their air travel and are trying to decipher their digital transmissions, we are not sure if we can even begin to negotiate with them, whoever they are. We have rounded up thousands of these individuals that Mr. Martin talked about and are doing our best to segregate them into smaller groups, isolate them, and we are trying to interrogate them to the best of our limited ability. We are going to bring a few of them to our facility and do our own interrogation and analysis, as we do not seem to be making any headway in the field. So let's get to work, he added. With that said, the meeting broke up and folks headed to their workstations and began looking for that proverbial needle in the haystack. It is clearly hard work, working on what you can't see or hear. Luckily, with the folks from MIT and key digital engineers, we can try to begin to work on the communication side of things. That is the priority, as it would be impossible to wage a war on someone you cannot see or hear from the sky. Mr. Martin and General Shannon and two young Air Force officers followed them to an adjoining office to begin some planning on the communication side. They had both just graduated from the academy and had spent 2 years of study at MIT in advanced radio telescope technology beyond our known gigahertz band. They were the only hope to break the encoding scheme of these broadcasts and try to intercept and decode these transmissions, and to understand what the entity's ultimate goal was. Captain Joy Smith was the first to speak, as she was chosen to be the lead on this team, as she graduated first in her class at MIT. Martin and Shannon only hoped she was smarter and more creative than her education might allow. This was definitely out-of-the-box thinking. They all sat around a 7-foot table, and Mr. Miller spoke. Captain Smith, is there anything you can tell us that you might know at this point? Edward asked. Well, sir, she began, we have been doing our own work above the gigahertz band with various decoding schemes, and we have looked at these waveforms, and it seems that they are modulating some sort of very high-frequency square waves using a pulse-cold modulation technique similar to our own audio compact disc technology. It is really just a twist of what we already know, but now we are trying to correlate what we see on our audio scopes with their physical activity and make some conclusions about the orders and actions, if you will. We also have our medical people studying their neurological pathways and see how this connects with their advanced brain activity. That is really beyond anything we have seen at this point. I really don't think these people are manipulated humans, but are more of their own species in our human form. Our physiology cannot adapt to these types of enhanced sensory abilities, which are way beyond our own. Just optically, there is no way for us to be altered, to have X-ray vision, as much as Hollywood would like us to believe. She adds this with a smile and a laugh to help break up the tension. Well, said General Shannon, I don't know if that is good news or not. We are sure dealing with some abilities beyond our own, But we have to find out if these entities are friend and foe, don't we? He asked. From what I can tell you, there is no one in the defense, state, CIA, the FBI, or the White House that knows anything about what's going on, added Martin. This may seem odd to the two of you, but they would do nothing but overreact and scare the country to death. And the press as well, all they would do is make it worse. Get back to us as soon as you know something concrete, will you? He asked warmly. We really need your expertise in a big way on this. Yes, sir, replied Smith as the meeting concluded, and the two young officers headed off to their workstations. Martin and Shannon sit down at the table. Edward looks at General Shannon. I think I could use a drink. They rise and head up to Mr. Martin's quarters to try and relax some, if that was even possible.